So, people that watch the channel will know that I'm a big fan of shooters. First person shooters, third person shooters, survival games, that sort of thing. And one of my favourite ever franchises is Ghost Recon. I've been playing Ghost Recon since really young. I remember playing Rainbow Six Vegas 1, Rainbow Six Vegas 2 back in the day, and I still have the same love for the franchise now as I did back then as a kid. So today we're going to talk about what we want as a community in the next Ghost Recon game and what I want personally. Enjoy the video. So, to kick things off, we're going to start with what I've seen on the internet that the community wants for the next Ghost Recon game. Now, everything I've found for this section of the video has come from Reddit or YouTube comments for feedback that people want for the next Ghost Recon game based off of what we've already had in Wildlands and in Breakpoint. So firstly, we're going to talk about setting. I've seen a lot of people that don't want a futuristic setting similar to Breakpoint, and I have to say I agree with this. Although it was a kind of a grounded futuristic setting, it still felt modern. I just think fighting the big robots on wheels and things of that nature isn't as fun as just fighting other soldiers. It doesn't feel as immersive to me. It does in its own right, but for me personally, and from what I've seen based on community feedback, a lot of people would like a setting similar to Wildlands, a more modern setting. Now this next one is a given, of course, more customizability. I noticed a lot of people want more customizability when it comes to the guns, when it comes to the gear, the clothes, everything to do with your character, whether it be beard, eye colour, more customization when it comes to how your character looks physically. I saw one comment that said the guy wants the ability to have the sleeves on his shirt up, down, trousers tucked or untucked, and I really have to agree with that one. I think in Breakpoint you had to pick specific items that either had the sleeves up or down, and that goes for the hats too. I'm tired of having to swap between forwards and backwards hats. The ability to have AI drive vehicles, kinda like Red Dead, and when I say kinda like Red Dead, I mean, you know, in Red Dead, and I think there's a couple other games that do it too, where you can sort of have like the auto drive mode, and you basically just click a button and the horse goes wherever your waypoint's set, because it'd be really fun to jump on the gunner and just be able to fire at passing enemies. I feel like that's something that could have been in the last two games, especially with both games having vehicles with mounted weapons on, but hey ho, let's hope it's in the next one. Now this one to me is a big one. Seamless gunsmith. And what I mean by that is, imagine you're out in the woods or wherever you are, wherever the next game's going to be set, and in your backpack you have an ACOG and a holographic sight. I think the ability to switch between the ACOG and the holographic on the fly, so long as you have them in your inventory, would be such a cool feature. It'd make it more seamless, and it wouldn't take you out of the immersion of having to open up a menu and then go into your loadout and then select it and then come back off. Imagine you see a target a few hundred meters away and you want to bring out a longer scope, you just do that on the fly. Doesn't take you out of the immersion, it just feels a lot cooler. So yeah, I think something like that would be really good. Also, while we're on the topic of gunsmith, the ability to have flashlights and lasers on the same weapon. Now, I don't remember there being a flashlight in Breakpoint. I could be mistaken. I know there's the one that when you have NVGs on you can see it, but I don't think that's the same. But in the next game, can we please get a flashlight? Can we get the ability to have the flashlight on one side of the rail and the laser on the other end? I don't know if you guys know about Road to Vostok, or even a more notable one would be Battlefield 2042. But those games both have seamless gunsmith, basically, where you can just edit the attachments on the fly. And I think for the next Ghost Recon game, that would be a brilliant idea. Also, can we get a bipod that actually deploys, please? A bigger expansion to the AI teammate order system. Now, when I think of this, I think of Ready or Not. And I think Ready or Not has the perfect AI order system. That's just my opinion. So in Ready or Not, say you want your team to breach a door. You would click breach door, and then another box would open up and it would say, how do you want your team to breach the door? Do you want them to open the door slowly? Do you want them to kick the door? Do you want them to kick and then flash? Do you want them to open and then flash? You get the idea. And I might be mistaken with this part, but I remember in Wildlands you had the option for your AI teammates to go in loud. I think that needs to be carried over most definitely to the next game. The option to go loud or go in quiet. I think that would just provide a way more immersive experience, especially when it comes to conducting like compound assaults. It'd just feel more tactical. The next one is more enemy AI danger. Now, if you remember all the promotional material that was put out for Breakpoint, a lot of the material was talking about being hunted and how we've gone from being the hunter in Wildlands to being the hunted in Breakpoint. But in all honesty, besides like a few occasions, maybe when I played the hardcore mode, I didn't really feel like I was being hunted like at all. Don't get me wrong, if you play with the is it the Ghost experience and you put the enemy AI to full difficulty, then it provides you with an actual sense of danger and makes you really think before you go into certain situations. I guess in the next one, what a lot of us want is just add the Ghost experience parameters, whatever it's called, into the game, the base game from the start, but expand on it a little. Make the groups bigger that come to hunt you down if that's what the next game's going to be like. If it's going to be a similar thing to Breakpoint where we're being hunted again, then I think the patrols definitely need to be bigger. There definitely needs to feel like more of a presence in the world. Because I remember like driving or running around on Breakpoint and you'd really only see like squads in the woods that's like 3 people. And then you might see like a couple of wolves, it's like 2 wolves and a robot. I can't remember the name of the thing. But if that's how we're going to go with the next Ghost Recon game, then I want to feel truly hunted. The next one is the ability to place bivouacs anywhere. Now I think this is an interesting one because I think a good way to go about doing this would be, if they're really striving for realism, then maybe carrying the required gear to actually make a bivouac, you know, like a cooking pot or whatever it entails. Maybe you've got to carry those things in your backpack. So say you only bring a sleeping bag and a cooking pot, the only thing you can do is make the rations and sleep. Now this next one is another big one for me, and I think it's one that, from what I can see doing the research for this video, a lot of other people want it also, and that's an expansion to Breakpoint's movement and animations. So if you remember, in Wildlands the movement felt a lot less tactical than in Breakpoint, or a lot less realistic, I don't know how to put it. It just didn't feel as good as Breakpoint's movement. And that's one thing I think Breakpoint actually nailed over Wildlands. You know, going down a steep hill and sliding, falling on your ass, or even like climbing upwards up a mountain, and you would do like the grab, if you know what I mean, where you would sort of put your hand out on the floor to steady your footing. I think an expansion to that would be great. Also the healing, I think an expansion to that would be cool too. Like more in-depth healing when bandaging, say. I've seen a few commenters on YouTube videos asking for this also. Kind of like Tarkov maybe, or I don't know if that'd be too far. Maybe not to Tarkov's extent, maybe individual limbs. Because in Breakpoint it didn't really matter where you got shot, you either healed your leg or healed your arm. On to the next one is, of course, a more lived in world. Wildlands as Bolivia felt so lived in, so real, it really immersed you into it. Whereas Breakpoint, there's not as many people on Breakpoint. Like I feel like even in the city areas there wasn't as many people. Where in Wildlands you'd find like little villages and stuff, and there would be like people going about the day-to-day business. It felt really cool. And it kind of made you feel like an outsider, like walking through these villages and you guys with guns and these people are just trying to live their lives. So I think that goes without saying that a more lived in world would be so much better than Breakpoint's. Alright, so now the community section of the video is over with. We're going to go on to what I want. Now this is just personal opinion. Please don't attack me for my opinion. I'm sure you have your own. And some of the things people will like, some of the things people might not like so much. But it's not like Ubisoft's going to watch this video, see what I like and put it in the game anyway. We're just bouncing ideas over here. So, to start off with, first/third person perspective. I think seeing the Wildlands mod and the Breakpoint mod do first person showed the immense potential that a modern day Ghost Recon game could have in first person. But I also love the third person, so I don't think I would want to fully take that out. I think having the option there caters to both sides of the player base, those that want first person and those that want third. Next up we got character weight. So when you're running around in Breakpoint or Wildlands, your character did not feel like heavy. You've got a backpack on with stuff inside, you've got a rig with all these magazines in, you're carrying a weapon, you're carrying a pistol, a knife, you've got a helmet on, all these things, but they didn't really feel like there was much weight to your character. So I'm not necessarily saying character weight as in again, back to Tarkov, where the more heavy you are, the slower you move, but just like a more weighty feel, or even like a Tarkov system. I'd take that too, where the more weight you have, the less easier it is for you to make fast maneuvers and things like that. Although, in all honesty, I don't know if that would fit into a Ghost Recon game. It sort of depends. I feel like they would have to make the game with that in mind. But yeah, the main thing is I would be happy with just a more weighty feeling character. Alright, so this one won't apply to everyone, just for us that like to make cool wallpapers and screenshots and thumbnails for YouTube videos. But I would love a poses menu for camera mode. If you look at most games nowadays that have a camera mode, Spider-Man 2 for example, there's a section where you can choose what pose your character does. And I think something like that for a Ghost Recon game would make for amazing thumbnails and amazing screenshots and wallpapers for people. Something like you're at the top of the mountain, you go to the poses section of the camera mode, and you want the character to have his left arm down and his right hand holding his gun in the air, sort of like a resting position, or even just like a sitting down pose. Just some cool tactical poses or something like scanning for enemies. I think that would make a really great addition to the camera mode. The camera mode is good, but it's just one of those things that could be expanded on. Up next we got plate carrier customization. So for this, I'm thinking, how many pouches do I want on the plate carrier? To hold how many mags? Do I want a knife on the front? A pistol on the front? Of course, having the patches and everything is cool, but I feel like the plate carrier could have a lot more customization to it. I also think that not everything should be fixed with a syringe. So in Breakpoint, when you got injured, you had the option to bandage, or you could use a syringe. If you got too hurt, you would have to use the bandage anyway and then syringe, or you could just keep using the bandages. Which goes on to the next thing. I think blood loss, like a blood loss system, would also be cool. Depending on where you get shot depends on how much blood you lose and how fast. At which point this goes back to healing each limb. If I get shot in the forearm, I bandage the forearm. If I get shot in the calf, I bandage the leg. I don't know, I think it's one of those things that, again, they would have to keep that in mind whilst making the game. I feel like this is a no-brainer. Breachable doors. Let us kick in the doors, please. I'm thinking of like Medal of Honor Warfighter, where you had the circle that would let you pick how you want to breach the door. Or again, Ready or Not, where it would let you choose how to breach the door. Use a ram, kick the door in, that sort of thing. And now the next one depends on the setting. If we got some sort of city setting, this would work great. Rappelling. Now, rappelling down buildings or rappelling out of choppers. Imagine playing with your friends and you've got 4 guys and you all rappel out of the chopper. I think that'd be so cool. Or even if we had some sort of AI that could fly us to where we want to go, and then you as a 4-man squad can all rappel out the chopper, or rappel down a building. Rappel facing upright or rappel facing downwards, that sort of thing. This used to be a thing in like Rainbow Six Vegas 2. I remember rappelling as a kid down the buildings and just feeling so cool. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think we've got through everything. I'm just looking at the notes here. I know that this is a bit of a different type of video for me, but it is something that I have been wanting to speak on. Plus, I'm curious to the community's feedback, and I want to see what everyone else thinks in the comments. Is there anything I missed out on? I think we could have a really interesting conversation in the comments about what we all want individually from the next Ghost Recon game. If you haven't already, check out the rest of my content. This video is the first of its kind on my channel. I might make more in the future, I don't know, but I usually make sort of immersive gameplay videos, so if that's right up your alley, then check them out. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you want to, it's up to you, and I'll see you all in the next one.